The Broken Iron Man. A loner discovers his daughter. Alexander Alex Thorne had built his entire life on control. He was a man who anticipated every outcome, who never allowed emotions to interfere with logic. But it only took one night, a quiet dinner at an unpretentious restaurant, for his world to explode. The moment he heard the soft sob of a little girl, he didn't expect to care. The instant he saw her big blue eyes, his blue eyes, he didn't expect to feel anything. And when the child's mother turned, pale and paralyzed, whispering his name like a ghost from the past, Alex knew nothing would ever be the same. Because the little girl wasn't just a lost child. She was his daughter. And he had never known she existed. If you believe fate always finds a way to correct mistakes, leave a like right now. And if you're following this dramatic story of unexpected encounters, subscribe and hit the bell. Tell us in the comments, how would you react if you discovered a family secret of this magnitude? Chapter 1. The Shattered Calm. Alexander Thorne was used to control. In business, in negotiations, in life, everything followed a plan. No surprises, no missed opportunities, no loose ends. That was how he had built his renewable energy company in Manhattan, and how he had maintained his relentless success. But tonight, for the first time in years, he had broken the structure of corporate meetings and investor dinners, choosing something different. He wanted a quiet meal, somewhere far from the usual luxury, where he could be a simple anonymous person. He found himself at a small family restaurant on the outskirts of the city, near the Queens neighborhood. The place, called Maria's Hearth, was warm and cozy, with the aroma of freshly baked bread and grilled steak permeating the air. It was the kind of place where people weren't in a hurry, where laughter filled the booths instead of whispered business conversations. Waitresses flitted between tables, greeting regulars by name, and there was a palpable murmur of familiarity. Alex chose a table by the window, ordering a filet mignon and a glass of Bordeaux. He allowed himself an unusual moment to simply sit and breathe, looking around without the weight of deadlines. He found it strange how unfamiliar relaxation was. He was about to take his first sip of wine when a sound cut through the restaurant's soft hum, a low, trembling sob. He looked up, scanning the room until his gaze landed on a tiny figure near the counter. A little girl was sitting on the floor, her small shoulders shaking as she wiped her face with her tiny fists. She couldn't have been more than 4 years old. Dark curls framed her round face, and even from a distance, Alex could see the bright blue of her eyes, full of tears. Something tightened in his chest. He wasn't the type of man to get involved in personal matters, much less the problems of strangers. But something about this child, sitting alone on the floor of a crowded restaurant, looking lost and scared, made it impossible for him to look away. He pushed back his chair and stood up, crossing the room in a few strides. He crouched down beside her, making sure not to startle her. "Hello," he said softly. "Are you okay?" The little girl sniffled, looking up at him with tear-streaked cheeks. "I'm lost," she whispered. Alex felt a pang of concern. He had expected to hear something like, "I dropped my toy," or "I spilled my drink." But lost? That was different. He looked around, searching for a panicked parent, but no one seemed to be looking for a missing child. "What's your name?" he asked, keeping his voice calm. The girl hesitated, then wiped her nose on the sleeve of her small sweater. "Lumi," Alex nodded, offering a reassuring smile. "That's a beautiful name, Lumi. Where's your mom?" Her lips trembled again, and she shook her head. "She was here, but then she left. She said she'd be right back, but then I couldn't find her." Alex exhaled slowly. If her mother worked here, she had probably stepped away for a moment, expecting Lumi to stay put. And Lumi, being a child in a busy restaurant, had wandered off. "Your mom works here, right?" he asked. Lumi nodded. "She's a waitress." All right, he said. Let's go find her together, shall we? Lumi hesitated for only a second before sliding her tiny hand into his much larger one. The warmth surprised him. He wasn't used to holding something so small, so delicate. He felt out of place. As they walked through the restaurant together, Alex had no idea that this small, insignificant decision was about to change his life forever. Chapter 2. The Silent Reunion. Alex walked slowly through the restaurant, his large hand carefully holding Lumi's small one as he scanned the crowded room. The warmth of her fingers felt strangely fragile against his palm, and he found himself gripping her a little tighter, as if afraid she might slip away. Lumi stayed close to him, her free hand clutching the hem of her sweater. Her big blue eyes moved around the restaurant, searching for a familiar face. But the further they walked, the more uncertain she seemed. "Do you remember where you last saw her?" Alex asked, keeping his voice gentle. Lumi hesitated, then pointed toward the far side of the restaurant, where there was a counter with stacks of menus and a cash register. "She was over there, but she went to take food to someone. And then I didn't see her anymore." Alex nodded, guiding her in that direction. The restaurant was still crowded, but as they got closer to the counter, something changed. A voice cut through the noise, frantic, full of worry. "Lumi, Lumi!" Lumi immediately brightened, turning toward the sound. A woman rushed toward them, zigzagging between tables with the urgency of someone who had been searching for far too long. She wore a simple black dress, an apron tied around her waist, and her brown hair was pulled back in a loose ponytail. Her dark eyes were wide with panic until they landed on Lumi, and relief flooded her features. Lumi's face lit up. "Mommy!" Before Alex could react, the little girl let go of his hand and ran straight into her mother's arms. The woman lifted her, hugging her tightly against her chest. "Oh my God, honey, where did you go?" "I told you to stay near the counter." Her voice trembled as she smoothed Lumi's hair, pressing a kiss to her head. "I did," Lumi mumbled into her shoulder. "But then I didn't see you, and I got scared." The woman exhaled shakily, closing her eyes for a brief second before pulling back to check her daughter's face. "Are you okay? You're not hurt." Lumi shook her head. "I'm fine." Alex, who had stepped back to give them space, found himself frozen when the woman finally looked up at him. And in an instant, everything changed. Alex knew those eyes. The color was different, dark brown instead of Lumi's bright blue. But the shape, the way they widened in shock, the way they reflected something raw and unexpressed, it was all too familiar. He knew her. She knew him. A moment of silence passed between them, long and heavy. "Alex?" Her voice was barely a whisper, as if she didn't quite believe what she was seeing. Alex felt something clench in his chest. He hadn't heard that voice in years, yet he still recognized it. "Isabel," he said, his own voice lower than usual. Her grip on Lumi tightened slightly, as if by instinct. Alex couldn't move. He couldn't think, because now that he was looking at her, really looking at her, a revelation hit him so hard, it nearly knocked the air out of his lungs. Lumi. Dark hair. Blue eyes. She wasn't just a child. She wasn't just a lost child in a restaurant. She looked exactly like him. Alex's stomach dropped. He felt his hands curl into fists as he forced himself to breathe. He turned to Isabel, clenching his jaw. "Tell me the truth," he said, his voice dangerously low. His heart hammered as he asked the question that would change everything. "Is she my daughter?" Chapter 3. 4 years of silence. Isabel felt her breath catch. Her arms instinctively tightened around Lumi, as if she could shield her daughter from the weight of the moment. She had imagined this scenario countless times. She had thought about what she would say if she ever saw Alex again. But she had never prepared for the reality. Alex was standing in front of her, his broad shoulders tense, his blue eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made her skin crawl. He had always had that presence, the kind that demanded answers without having to say much. But now, there was something different in his gaze, something raw, something she couldn't escape. "Is she my daughter?" His voice was calmer this time, but the demand in his tone remained. Isabel's heart hammered in her chest. She had always known this day would come. She just hadn't expected it to happen in the middle of a crowded restaurant, with Lumi's little arms wrapped around her neck, oblivious to the storm that was about to break. She swallowed hard, her throat dry. Lying was not an option. She had already hidden the truth for years, and she knew there was no way to deny it now, not when Lumi was right there, looking like a miniature version of him. Isabel closed her eyes for a brief second before meeting his gaze again. "Yes," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "She's yours." The silence that followed was deafening. Alex didn't move. He didn't speak. He just stared at her, with an unreadable expression, as if trying to process the weight of what she had just said. Isabel braced herself for the anger, for the accusations, for anything. But the look in his eyes wasn't just anger. It was something deeper, something almost like betrayal. "How long?" His voice was controlled, but she could hear the tension beneath it. Isabel swallowed hard. 4 years. Alex exhaled sharply, running a hand through his dark hair. 4 years, he repeated, as if saying it aloud made it real. He looked back at Lumi, who watched them both with quiet curiosity, completely unaware of the meaning behind their conversation. "Why didn't you tell me?" His voice was lower now, but there was no doubt of the sharp edge in it. Isabel's fingers curled slightly against Lumi's back. "Because you had your whole life ahead of you," she said, forcing her voice to be steady. "You were building an empire. You had investors, meetings, deals worth millions. You were traveling all over the world, barely stopping for anything. I didn't want to be the person who stopped you." Alex let out a low, humorless laugh, shaking his head in disbelief. "Stop me?" His blue eyes burned into hers. "You didn't think I had the right to make that decision for myself." Isabel's chest tightened. "I thought I was doing the right thing." "The right thing?" His voice was lower now, rougher. "You decided for me, Isabel. You decided I didn't deserve to know my own daughter, that I didn't deserve to be there for her." Isabel flinched for a second, but then her jaw tightened again. "You weren't ready, Alex. I knew it. You knew it. You were working 18-hour days, traveling the world, building your company. You barely had time for yourself, let alone a baby." Alex took a step closer, his blue eyes burning into hers. "That doesn't mean I wouldn't have tried." Isabel slightly flinched at his words, but she didn't look away. "I thought I was doing the right thing," she whispered. "Well, you weren't," he said, his voice calmer now, but no less intense. "You hurt both of us." The silence stretched between them, laden with everything left unsaid. Alex inhaled deeply, forcing himself to think past the anger, past the resentment. He couldn't change the past. No matter how much he wanted it, no matter how much it consumed him, those 4 years were gone. But Lumi wasn't. His voice was firmer when he spoke again. "I'm not walking away from her, Isabel." Isabel swallowed hard, nodding. "I didn't expect you to." Alex studied her, looking for any sign that she was still going to fight him. But all he saw was exhaustion, guilt, and perhaps something else, something akin to relief. He looked toward the counter, where Lumi was now watching them with quiet curiosity. Alex crouched down, meeting her at eye level. "Hello, Lumi," he said, his voice softer now. Lumi blinked up at him with big blue eyes. "Hello." Alex hesitated for only a second before asking, "Do you know who I am?" Lumi tilted her head slightly, as if studying him. Then she looked at Isabel, as if seeking confirmation, before looking back at him. "You're the kind mister who helped me," she said naturally. Alex let out a breath, nodding. "Yes," he said. "I'm the kind mister who helped you." He paused, his voice lower now. "But I'm also something else." Lumi's brow furrowed slightly, curiosity shining in her blue eyes. "What?" Alex swallowed hard. His throat felt tight. He had spent years closing himself off, keeping emotions buried under layers of business and control. But looking into his daughter's eyes, the eyes that were exactly like his, there was no room for anything but the truth. "I'm your dad," he said, his voice barely a whisper. Lumi blinked up at him, as if trying to process his words. She looked at Isabella, again, then back at Alex. "Really?" Alex forced a small smile, even though he felt his chest was about to collapse under the weight of everything. "Yes," he said. "Really?" Lumi stared at him for another long second, before a small smile tugged at the corner of her lips. "Oh!" Alex let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Then, to his utter surprise, Lumi reached out her hand and took his. Alex felt his whole body freeze. Her fingers were tiny, delicate, warm. And for the first time in his life, Alexander Thorne, the man who had built an empire from nothing, the man who had never let anyone in, felt he had just found something more important than anything he had ever built. Chapter 4. The Emotional Negotiation. Alex stared at the small hand wrapped around his, feeling something shift deep inside him. Lumi's fingers were so tiny, yet they gripped his hand, with the kind of quiet confidence that tightened his chest. He had spent years negotiating multi-million-dollar deals, standing in boardrooms with some of the world's most powerful people, yet he had never felt so unprepared as he did in that moment. Lumi's blue eyes, his eyes, blinked up at him with innocent curiosity, waiting to see what he would do next. She wasn't scared. She wasn't pulling away. She was just there, holding his hand as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Alex swallowed hard, his mind racing. He should have been furious. He should have been demanding answers, demanding to know why Isabel had kept this from him for so long. But standing there, looking at Lumi, all he could think about was how much time he had already lost. 4 years. 4 years of first words, first steps, bedtime stories, scraped knees, and laughter, memories he would never recover. Isabel's voice broke the silence. "Lumi, sweetie, why don't you go sit at the counter for a minute? I need to talk to—" She hesitated, looking at Alex before finishing. "I need to talk to Mr. Thorne." Lumi looked between them, sensing the tension in her mother's voice, but she didn't argue. She simply gave Alex one last hand squeeze before letting go and skipping off to the counter, climbing onto a stool with ease. The instant she was out of earshot, Alex turned to Isabel, his jaw tight. "We need to talk, now." Isabel exhaled. Alex clenched his fists, forcing himself to stay calm. "Why?" The word came out rough, bordering on too many emotions he hadn't had time to process. "Why didn't you tell me?" Isabel looked away for a second, crossing her arms over her chest as if bracing herself. "Because I was scared," she admitted. "Because I thought if I told you, you'd feel trapped, that you'd feel you had to choose between your life and a child you never planned for." Alex let out a sharp breath, shaking his head. "That wasn't your decision, Isabel. You don't get to decide how I would have felt. You don't get to erase me from my own daughter's life because you assumed I wouldn't want her. You weren't ready, Alex. I knew it. You knew it. You were working 18-hour days, traveling the world, building your company. You didn't even have time for yourself, let alone a baby." Alex took a step closer, his blue eyes burning into hers. "That doesn't mean I wouldn't have tried." Isabel flinched slightly at his words, but she didn't look away. "I thought I was doing the right thing," she whispered. Well, you weren't, he said, his voice lower now. You hurt both of us. The silence stretched between them, charged with everything that was left to be said. Alex inhaled again, forcing himself to think past the anger, past the resentment. He couldn't change the past. Those 4 years were gone. But Lumi wasn't. His voice was firmer when he spoke again. I'm not walking away from her, Isabel. Isabel swallowed hard, nodding. I didn't expect you to. Alex studied her, looking for any sign that she was still going to fight him. But all he saw was exhaustion, guilt, and perhaps something else, something like relief. He turned to Isabel. We have to figure this out, for her. Isabel nodded again, her voice softer this time. Yes, we do. For the first time that night, Alex felt like he was finally taking control of something again. But this time, it wasn't about business or power. It was about being a father. The confession has been brutal. Now that the truth is out, do you think Alex, the man of control, will be able to adapt to being a father? Leave us your opinion in the comments and share this story with your friends. Chapter 5. Rewriting the strategy. Alex had spent his whole life solving problems, negotiating impossible deals, and turning obstacles into opportunities. But as he sat across from Isabel in the small restaurant booth, he realized this was the one situation he couldn't approach as a business transaction. There was no strategy, no quick fix, no contract that could rewrite the last 4 years and erase the time he had lost with his daughter. I need to be in her life, Isabel. I don't care how we work it out, but I'm not walking away from her. Isabel exhaled slowly. I know, and I'm not going to stop you. She doesn't know anything about you, Isabel admitted. I never spoke of you. Alex clenched his jaw. Not even my name. Isabel shook her head. She asked once, a long time ago, why she didn't have a daddy like some of the other kids at daycare. I told her families come in all shapes, and ours was just the 2 of us. After that, she stopped asking. Alex's chest tightened. She deserves to know the truth. I know, Isabel said, her voice slightly breaking. But you have to understand, Alex. She's never had a father figure in her life. She doesn't know what that means. She's used to it, just being the 2 of us. Alex exhaled, forcing back the emotions. Then we take it slow, he said. I don't want to overwhelm her. Isabel hesitated before nodding. Agreed. She likes you, you know, Isabel said. Alex's eyes lifted to meet hers. Really? Isabel nodded, looking toward the counter where Lumi was now drawing on a napkin with a red crayon. She doesn't usually get this comfortable with strangers, but she let you hold her hand. That's not something she does often. I want to take her out sometime, he said finally. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. Just her and me. Isabel hesitated, but then nodded. We can try. Alex slowly exhaled, some of the tension in his shoulders easing for the first time since this conversation began. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't enough. But it was a start. And for now, that was all he could ask for. Chapter 6. The night of the swings. Alex arrived at the park early, pacing near the playground as he tried to calm the restlessness in his chest. He was about to have his first solo outing with his daughter. This wasn't business. This was personal. He saw Isabel walking hand in hand with Lumi toward him. Lumi saw him first. She stopped mid-sentence, then smiled. You're here, she announced, tugging on Isabel's hand before running toward him. Alex barely had time to brace himself before she reached him, stopping just inches away as she tilted her head with a curious expression. Did you bring me a story? Alex smiled, pulling a small hardcover book from his coat pocket. Your mom told me you like fairy tales. Lumi gasped dramatically. I love fairy tales! She took the book, flipping it over. Are there dragons? Alex crouched down to her level. Big ones. And princesses who aren't afraid of them. Lumi smiled. I like princesses who fight dragons. They're cooler than the ones who just wait for a prince. Do you want me to read it to you? He asked. Lumi nodded eagerly. But only if we sit on the swings. It's the best place for stories. Swings it is, Alex said, straightening up. Lumi grabbed his hand without hesitation, pulling him toward the playground. Alex let himself be led, still amazed by how naturally she accepted him. As he started reading, his voice was firm, but he was only semi-focused on the words. His mind kept wandering to the child beside him, to the way she listened so intently, to the way she already trusted him without question. Halfway through the story, Lumi reached out and tugged gently on his sleeve. "You have a nice voice," she said naturally. "Like a prince." Alex blinked, taken by surprise. Isabel, who had been standing a few feet away, let out a quiet laugh. "That's a first," she murmured. Alex smiled, shaking his head. "You think so?" Lumi nodded solemnly. "Yes, a prince or maybe a knight." Alex leaned in slightly, lowering his voice to a playful whisper. "Knights fight dragons, you know." Lumi's eyes widened. "That means you could be one." "I guess we'll have to find out," Alex chuckled, turning the page. They stayed in the park for hours. When it was finally time to go, Lumi hugged Alex without hesitation, wrapping her small arms around his waist. He froze for a half-second before gently hugging her back. As Isabel guided her toward the car, Lumi looked over her shoulder, waving goodbye. "Goodbye, Knight Alex." Alex let out a quiet laugh, waving back. Isabel paused before finally meeting his gaze. "That went better than I expected." "Yes," Alex nodded. "It did." Chapter 7. A Drawing and the True Wealth. Alex couldn't stop thinking about the way Lumi had hugged him. It had meant everything. 2 days later, he was standing at Isabel's apartment door in Queens. He was invited this time. The apartment was small, but cozy. Not grand, but it felt like a home. Lumi appeared, wearing a bright yellow princess dress with a slightly crooked plastic tiara. "I'm a princess today," she announced, "but not one who waits for a prince, one who fights dragons." "That's the best kind of princess," Alex chuckled. Lumi grabbed his hand, pulling him toward the sofa. "Do you like spaghetti? Mom makes the best spaghetti." Alex let himself be led. "I love spaghetti. Can I help?" Lumi gasped. "You want to help?" He smiled, looking at Isabel. "I think I can manage stirring a pot." Lumi laughed, then leaned in, as if to tell him a very important secret. "Mom doesn't like it when people mess up her kitchen." Dinner was surprisingly easy. Lumi talked the entire time, filling every silence with stories. Alex listened, genuinely fascinated. Then came the moment he didn't expect. Lumi set out a pile of crayons and paper, drawing with intense concentration. She looked up at him, then to the paper before holding it up for him to see. It was a drawing. 3 stick figures, one clearly smaller than the others, all holding hands. There was a house in the background, a sun in the corner, and a big blue scribble above them that he assumed was the sky. She pointed to each figure. "This is me. This is Mom. And this," she tapped the tallest figure, "this is you." Alex stared at the drawing, something tight forming in his throat. He wasn't sure what to say, how to process the fact that, in her mind, he was already a part of her life. Isabel watched, her eyes softening when she saw the drawing. "It's a pretty incredible drawing," Alex said, forcing himself to speak. Lumi smiled. "Do you like it?" "I love it." Alex leaned back, realizing he had been wrong. He had spent his whole life chasing success, thinking that was all that mattered. But sitting here, seeing his daughter draw her family on a piece of paper, he realized he had been mistaken. He didn't just want to be part of their lives. He needed it. Chapter 8. The Iron Man's Promise. Lumi eventually went to bed. Isabel reappeared from the hallway, observing him. "She's already attached to you," she said softly. "You can't disappear." Alex met her gaze, something solid and unbreakable. breakable in his eyes. "I'm not going anywhere." Isabel studied him for a long moment before nodding. "Good night, Alex." "Good night, Isabel." As he sat there, listening to the faint sound of Lumi's laughter from her room as Isabel read her a bedtime story, Alex realized that, for the first time in years, he wasn't chasing something he could never reach. He was exactly where he needed to be. He turned to Isabel as she returned. "I know I have no right, but I need to ask you. Will you forgive me for the time I missed? And will you let me try to be the man and the father you both need?" Isabel looked at him, searching his eyes. "You need to show me, Alex. The world of Manhattan business is not the world of Queens life. My trust is not a quick transaction." "I know," Alex agreed, "but I'm here, and I will prove it." The Iron Man of Manhattan had crumbled, and in its place, he had found love and purpose. What do you think will be the greatest challenge for Alex? Adapting to the simple life in Queens, or dealing with the shock and judgment of the Manhattan elite when they discover his new family? Give a like if Lumi's drawing moved you. Share this video so more people know the true wealth of life, and leave a comment with your predictions for the next chapter. Until next time, don't forget to subscribe. Chapter 9. The Conflict of Worlds Continuation. Cautious, dramatic music. Welcome back. Alexander Thorne has found his true wealth in Queens, but the world of Manhattan doesn't forget its titans. Now, Alex must bridge the 7-mile gap between his high-control corporate life and the simple trust of his new family. Smash that like button if you think Alex should choose his family over his empire. Subscribe now and tell us, what is the biggest danger to Alex's new life? Part 1. The intrusion of Manhattan, the days following the confrontation, were defined by a tense, yet hopeful, routine. Alex began his Operation Integration. He drastically reduced his working hours, delegated meetings, and even canceled a major business trip to Tokyo. He found himself spending his mornings at Maria's hearth, drinking terrible coffee and watching Lumi's dramatic entrance for breakfast before driving her to a small, brightly painted daycare near Jackson Heights. Isabel maintained her distance. She allowed his presence but not his intimacy. She would watch him from the kitchen, a careful, analytical expression on her face, noting how he interacted with Lumi. She was testing his sincerity, looking for the first sign of the old, workaholic Alex to reappear. The first clash came swiftly. Alex had promised Lumi he would attend her daycare's mini mascot day on Tuesday. However, on Monday afternoon, his executive assistant, Mr. Wallace, arrived unannounced at Maria's hearth with a stack of urgent contracts. "Mr. Thorne, these documents are critical for the Solaris merger," Wallace whispered urgently, ignoring the strange setting. "The board needs your signature and final analysis by tomorrow morning. This deal is worth $50 million, sir." Alex felt the familiar pull of his old life, the adrenaline, the pressure, the sheer magnitude of the money. He knew the merger was vital for his company. "I need to leave now, Isabel," Alex said, already scanning the papers. "I'll be at the office all night. I have to miss Mascot Day." Isabel set down a damp cloth on the counter. Her dark eyes, usually weary, were now sharp with disappointment. "Of course, Alex. I expected as much. The $50 million deal is more important than a 4-year-old's expectations. I'll tell Lumi her knight got called away to fight a bigger dragon." The irony of her words, using the very language he used to connect with Lumi, cut him deep. "This is my job, Isabel. This is what pays for everything," Alex retorted, the stress making him sharp. "And this," Isabel gestured to the empty restaurant, "is our life, and it can't be bought by your $50 million deals. Go, but don't expect Lumi to believe in your fairy tales when you break your promises." Alex left, feeling a knot of cold guilt tighten in his stomach. He worked all night, closed the deal, and won. But the victory felt hollow. Part 2. The strength of a simple promise. Didn't go home to his Manhattan apartment. He drove straight to Maria's hearth. He found Isabel alone, setting tables. "I signed the contracts," Alex announced, his voice tired. "The merger is a success." "Congratulations, Mr. Thorne," Isabel said, her voice flat, not looking up. "Lumi asked for you," she continued. She kept saying, "Where is Knight Alex? Did a mean dragon capture him?" "I am sorry, Isabel. I had to." "You made a choice, Alex. And for 4 years, I've had to be both the stability and the disappointment. I'm tired of having to explain your absence." Alex knew a simple apology wouldn't suffice. He pulled out his phone and made a call, pacing the small restaurant. "Wallace, cancel the Tokyo trip." "Yes, the entire trip. I'm grounding myself for 2 weeks. Yes, I'm serious. You will manage. I need 2 weeks of total availability." "No, I don't care about the shareholders. My family is the priority. Handle it." He hung up, feeling a huge wave of relief. He walked back to Isabel. "I canceled a major business trip to ground myself," Alex said. "I am here, Isabel. I am all in. But I need you to tell me what to do to earn your trust. Don't hide behind resentment anymore. Give me a task." Isabel looked at him for a long moment. She saw the genuine exhaustion and the fierce determination in his blue eyes. She knew this commitment was not a simple gesture. "Fine," she said, finally dropping her guard. "Lumi's daycare needs a new roof for their outdoor play area. It's been leaking for months, and they can't afford the repairs. It's not a contract, Alex. It's manual labor, dusty, cheap work. Fix the roof. If you can commit to something simple, without profit, just for Lumi's well-being, then maybe I'll start believing in your promises." Alex smiled, a genuine, relieved smile. "Consider it done, Isabel. Where is my tool belt?" What do you think of Isabel's request? Is fixing a daycare roof the perfect test of Alex's dedication, or is it too harsh? Tell us in the comments. Part 3. The Knight's tool belt. The next morning, Alex showed up at Lumi's daycare, not in a $1,000 suit, but in worn jeans and a borrowed tool belt. He looked utterly out of place. The other parents, mostly working-class families from the neighborhood, stared at the massive SUV he drove and the intensity in his eyes. Alex spent the next 2 days tearing down and rebuilding the small, dilapidated roof. He learned how to measure lumber, how to use a nail gun, and how to ignore the constant discomfort of physical labor. He worked alongside a few other fathers, sharing quiet nods and bottles of water. On Wednesday, Lumi's class was brought outside for playtime. Lumi saw Alex on the roof and waved frantically. "That's my dad!" she shouted proudly to her friends. "He's fixing the roof! He's a night builder!" Alex looked down at his daughter, sweat stinging his eyes, a genuine, profound sense of fulfillment washing over him. This feeling, this pride in his daughter's eyes, was worth more than any corporate merger. When he finished the roof, the daycare director offered him a check. Alex shook his head. "It's a gift from a grateful father," he said simply. That evening, Alex returned to Isabel's small apartment in Queens. He smelled of wood dust and sweat. He was exhausted, but smiling. Isabel looked at his rough hands, his dirt-stained clothes, and his tired face. She saw the sincerity in his eyes. "You did it," she whispered. "It was the best merger I ever closed," Alex chuckled. Isabel slowly approached him. For the first time, she did not flinch or put up a barrier. She reached out and touched his face gently. "I still have a long way to go to forgive you for the past, Alex," she admitted, her eyes vulnerable. "But I trust the man who built that roof." That night, for the first time since their reunion, Alex did not sleep on the sofa. Isabel led him into her small bedroom, not with passion, but with a quiet sense of shared commitment. They held each other, two broken people finally finding anchor in the face of a terrifying but hopeful future. Chapter 10. The Unveiling. 2 weeks later, the final test arrived. The Unveiling. Alex had to return to Manhattan for a mandatory, high-profile board meeting. It was the moment he had to reveal his new life to the corporate world. He wore his best suit, but this time he wore a small hand-drawn picture of Lumi, her 3 stick figures, tucked into his inner jacket pocket. The meeting was tense. The chairman, Mr. Sterling, a ruthless corporate figure, questioned Alex's recent absence and the canceled Tokyo trip. "You missed a critical networking opportunity, Alex. Shareholders are concerned about your focus. What is the priority now?" Mr. Sterling's voice was sharp. Alex looked around the room, seeing the familiar faces, ambitious, ruthless, and entirely disconnected from his reality. "Gentlemen," Alex said, standing tall, "my priority has changed. 4 years ago, I became a father without knowing it. I recently discovered I have a daughter, Lumi, and I have a new priority: my family." The silence in the boardroom was absolute. A few executives chuckled dismissively. "A child from an affair, Alex?" Mr. Sterling sneered. "We run a billion-dollar company, not a daycare. This new distraction is unprofessional." Alex walked to the massive boardroom table and looked directly at Mr. Sterling. "Lumi is not a distraction. She is the reason I am more focused, more ethical, and more determined than ever. I spent my life chasing control and power, but I was empty. Lumi gave me purpose. I will continue to run this company with integrity, but if I am forced to choose between this board and my daughter, the choice is already made." Mr. Sterling, surprised by the firmness in Alex's voice, paused. He saw not the insecure young executive, but a man finally anchored by a fierce personal conviction. "Very well, Alex," Mr. Sterling conceded, after a long silence. "We will monitor your performance, but if this situation affects the bottom line, there will be consequences." Alex simply nodded. He knew the fight was just beginning. He left the boardroom, feeling the weight of the corporate world lift from his shoulders. He had been honest. He had chosen his daughter publicly. He drove straight back to Queens. He found Lumi and Isabel outside, playing with a small soccer ball. "Night, Alex," Lumi shouted, running to him. "Did you slay the dragons?" Alex knelt down, hugging his daughter close. "I did, Lumi. And now, the night is home." Isabel watched, her eyes shining with love and respect. She knew their life would be complicated, full of battles against Manhattan's demands. But she also knew that the man who had traded his $1 million deal for a simple roof and his arrogance for honesty was a man worth loving. The legacy. Alexander Thorne learned that the greatest power in the world is not control, but vulnerability. He found that true wealth is not measured in balance sheets, but in the innocent embrace of a child. His journey from an Iron Man to a night builder was a testament to the fact that it is never too late to trade a profitable empire for a life of purpose and love. Thank you for following this incredible story of redemption and love. Final call to action. Subscribe to the channel. For more stories about finding true purpose, like this video if you believe a loving family is the biggest business success. Comment below. What should Alex's next act of service be for the Queens community to prove his commitment? Chapter 11. The Manhattan Counterattack Continuation Tense, High Stakes. Music welcome back, followers. Alex successfully chose his family over the boardroom, but the Manhattan elite doesn't forgive public humiliation easily. Now, the battle shifts from emotional commitment to legal warfare, testing if the night builder can defend his new life. Smash that like button if you stand with Alex and Isabel. Subscribe now and tell us, what legal move do you think Mr. Sterling will make next? Part 1. The Invisible War. The immediate aftermath of Alex's public declaration saw his life simplify, but the consequences from his former world were swift and brutal. Mr. Sterling, the chairman, could not fire Alex. His visionary leadership was too valuable to the Solaris merger, but he could make his life a living hell. The counterattack was financial and indirect. The board initiated a series of legal probes into Alex's delegated projects, claiming mismanagement of time and resources during his 2-week self-grounding. One morning, Alex received a subpoena at Maria's hearth. The charge: a shareholder lawsuit alleging that Alex's cancellation of the Tokyo trip and subsequent delegation had caused a $10 million loss in potential Asian contracts. The anxiety returned, cold and sharp. This was the kind of lawsuit that could consume a person, draining their energy, time, and fortune. Isabel found Alex pacing the small living room, the legal documents spread across the coffee table. He was back in his high-control mode, pacing, calculating, his jaw clenched. "They want to bury me in paperwork, Isabel," Alex growled, running a hand through his hair. "They know I'm the best at my job, so they're attacking me where I'm weakest, in legal bureaucracy. They want me to choose between fighting this and being here for Lumi." Isabel didn't respond with anger or resentment. She sat down, calmly reading the documents. "This isn't about the $10 million loss, Alex. This is about control and loyalty. They're testing if your root is strong enough to withstand their storm. I need a corporate legal team, a huge one, and I need to be in court, not in Queens," Alex countered, frustration evident. "No," Isabel stated firmly. "You need a good lawyer, yes, but you don't need to be consumed by the fight. You promised presence, and you will keep it. You let the lawyer fight the papers. You fight for our life." Part 2. Isabel's Strategic Alliance. Isabelle, a sharp woman who ran a successful restaurant and single-handedly managed her life for years, took a surprising initiative. She used her local network and resources. "You may own Manhattan's top law firms, Alex," Isabel said, looking at him with a determined glint in her eye. "But I know the best litigator in Queens, a woman named Elena Ramirez. She handles the big cases locally, fights with grit, and charges fairly. She understands injustice." Alex was skeptical. "A local litigator against Mr. Sterling's corporate lawyers? She understands people, Alex. Your corporate lawyers understand contracts. This lawsuit is about perception and loyalty, not just money. Let Elena handle the perception, and you handle the loyalty." Alex, realizing he couldn't fight this battle with his own corporate mindset, agreed. Elena Ramirez took the case. Her strategy was simple: frame the lawsuit as an attack on family values and ethical commitment, proving that Alex's decision was an ethical necessity that ultimately strengthened the company's moral standing. If you were Alex, would you trust a local lawyer to fight a massive Manhattan corporate firm? Vote in the comments. Part 3. The Test of Vulnerability. While Elena fought the legal battle, Alex fulfilled his presence promise by taking over Lumi's bedtime routine. Every night, he read her the fairy tales, becoming the dedicated night Alex she adored. One night, Lumi handed him a letter she'd drawn for him. It was a picture of him, in his suit, fighting a large, green dragon labeled Lawsuit. "Why are you fighting a dragon, Papa?" Lumi asked, using the Spanish word for dad, which she was slowly starting to adopt. Alex knelt down. "Because some dragons try to steal the good things we build, Lumi. But the knight always protects his castle." "Will you win?" "I will," Alex promised. "But the trick is that the strongest knights don't fight with swords. They fight with truth and love." Later, sitting on the sofa, Isabel watched him. "You're getting good at this, Alex." "I'm learning. I still have the right to ask you to leave, you know," Isabel said, her voice quiet. "If this stress becomes too much, if you start becoming the man who runs away again." Alex didn't argue or get angry. He simply took her hand, the calloused one from years of working in the restaurant. "I gave the board my word. Now I give you mine. I will face this and every future challenge with you by my side. No running, no hiding, ever." Isabel nodded, a genuine smile finally reaching her tired eyes. That night, she made a quiet decision. Chapter 12. The Conscious Choice. After a 2-month legal battle, Elena Ramirez delivered a stunning victory. She successfully argued that the lawsuit was retaliatory, a punitive measure against ethical commitment. The judge dismissed the case, citing that a corporation's bottom line cannot supersede a director's right to family and ethical commitment. Alex was cleared. The victory was a massive win for Alex, for Elena, and for family values in the corporate world. Alex went straight to Queens. He found Isabel in the quiet restaurant. "We won, Isabel. Elena won. We won," Alex announced, euphoria written on his face. Isabel looked at him. "Smiling down, yeah. I know. Oma. Elena just called. You are a free man." "Now," Alex said, taking her hands, "I have my freedom, my fortune, and my family. It's time to make a permanent choice." He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. It didn't contain a diamond ring, but a custom-made silver key. "This is the key to my Manhattan penthouse. I've signed the deed over to the company's foundation. It will be sold to fund a new initiative," Alex said. "I don't need it. I don't want it. My home is here. Isabel, marry me. Not with a diamond, but with this commitment. I choose Queens over Manhattan. I choose you and Lumi over the sterling lifestyle. I choose true wealth over false power." Isabel's eyes filled with tears, not from surprise, but from the depth of his sacrifice. "I don't need a ring, Alex. I needed a partner. And you, Knight Alex, have finally shown up." She didn't take the key. She took his hands, kissing him deeply. A kiss of complete trust and commitment. The legacy. Alexander Thorne sold his Manhattan apartment and moved permanently into the small but cozy Queens home with Isabel and Lumi. He continued to lead his company, but remotely, ensuring his work served his life, not the other way around. He learned that the true measure of a man's empire is not the height of his buildings, but the strength of the foundation he builds at home. Thank you for following this incredible story of finding true wealth. Final call to action. Subscribe to the channel for more stories about finding true purpose. Like this video if you believe a loving family is the biggest business success. Comment below. What simple gift do you think Alex gave Isabel instead of a diamond ring? Subscribe now and hit the like button if you believe in unexpected connections. Comment below. What's the most surprising call you've ever received? The billionaire's despair and the cleaner's secret. No way! That's 3 nannies this week! Daniel Hayes paced his opulent London office, phone pressed to his ear. On the other end, his assistant stammered that the latest nanny had quit that very morning. Mr. Hayes, she said she just couldn't take the baby's crying anymore. She's never seen anything like it. Well, find another one. I don't care what it costs. Daniel slammed the phone down, running a hand through his hair. His daughter, Lily, was barely 8 months old, and since her mother's death 3 months prior, no nanny had lasted more than a few days. The baby cried incessantly, refused bottles, and wouldn't sleep at night. Meanwhile, downstairs, Sarah Miller was cleaning the living room windows. She'd arrived early that morning for the emergency cleaning job she'd been assigned. She needed the extra money to send to her grandmother in Jamaica. She'd been in London for 6 months and still felt like a stranger in Canary Wharf. The piercing cry of a baby made her pause. She looked towards the ceiling, frowning. That cry wasn't normal. It wasn't the cry of hunger or sleep she knew well from looking after her younger cousins. It was a cry of desperation. Sarah put down her cloth and climbed the stairs. The crying grew louder. She reached the first floor and saw a door ajar. She cautiously peeked in. A baby was in her cot, her face red from crying so much. Her tiny fists flailed in the air and tears streamed down her cheeks. Sarah looked around. No one else was there. "Hello?" she called out. "Is anyone here?" No one replied. The baby's crying intensified. Sarah knew she shouldn't go in. It wasn't her job. But something in that cry tore at her heart. She approached the cot slowly. "Shh, my darling. What's wrong?" The baby's nappy was soiled, and her clothes were damp with sweat. Sarah found nappies and clean clothes in the nearby dresser. With gentle movements, she changed the little one and picked her up. There. Everything's going to be all right," she whispered, rocking her. The baby gradually stopped crying. Her swollen eyes slowly closed, and her breathing calmed. Sarah continued rocking her, humming a song her grandmother used to sing to her as a child. "What on earth are you doing?" Sarah startled. In the doorway stood a tall man in a dark suit, his expression furious. He was handsome, but his eyes held a coldness that intimidated her. The baby was crying, and who gave you permission to touch my daughter?" Daniel strode towards her. Sarah backed away, still holding the baby. "No one, sir. But she was... Give me Lily. Now." Sarah carefully handed over the baby. As soon as Daniel took her, Lily started crying again. Daniel tried to calm her, but the cries grew louder. "I don't understand. She calmed down with you," Daniel murmured, looking at Sarah strangely. Her nappy was dirty, and her clothes were wet. She must be hungry, too. Daniel looked at his daughter. It was true. He hadn't noticed the state she was in. "Have you looked after babies before?" "Yes, sir. My cousin's in Jamaica." Daniel extended his arms towards Sarah. "Take her again." Sarah hesitated but took Lily. Immediately the baby quieted. Her small hands clung to Sarah's blouse, and her breathing became steady. "What's your name?" Daniel asked, watching the scene with disbelief. "Sarah Miller. I work for the cleaning company." "Where are you from?" "Jamaica. I arrived 6 months ago." Daniel was silent, watching his daughter completely relax in the arms of this unknown woman. 3 professional nannies had failed, but this cleaner had achieved the impossible. "Prepare her bottle," he suddenly told her. "It's in the kitchen, downstairs." Sarah went downstairs with Lily in her arms. In the kitchen, she prepared the bottle as she had learned with her cousins. Lily drank the milk without a fuss, her little eyes fixed on Sarah's face. Daniel watched them from the doorway. For the first time in months, his house was silent. No desperate cries, no tension in the air. "What time do you finish your work here?" he asked. In an hour, sir. When you're done, come to my office. I have a proposal for you. Sarah nodded, not understanding what this man could want from her. She continued feeding Lily, feeling a strange connection with this baby she had just met. What do you think Daniel's proposal will be? Is he just desperate, or is there something more? Share your predictions in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more unexpected twists. A new arrangement. Sarah knocked on the office door nervously. She had finished cleaning, and now she stood in front of Daniel Hayes' study, unsure what to expect. Maybe he was going to fire her for interfering. Come in. Daniel was sitting behind an enormous desk, reviewing papers. He looked up when she entered. Have a seat, please. Sarah sat in the chair in front of the desk, her hands in her lap. The office was elegant, with books and diplomas on the walls. She felt out of place. You have experience looking after children? Daniel asked directly. Yes, sir. I looked after my young cousins in Jamaica. I also worked with a family in Kingston before coming to London. Why did you come to London? Sarah hesitated for a moment. My grandmother is sick and needs expensive medication. I can earn more money here to help her. Daniel nodded. He opened a folder and pulled out some documents. Your employer gave me your references. She says you're responsible and reliable. I try to be, sir. What happened today with my daughter? Daniel paused, as if struggling to find the words. Lily hasn't stopped crying in weeks. No nanny has been able to calm her like you did. Sarah didn't know how to reply. Daniel continued speaking. I want to offer you a job, to be Lily's full-time nanny. Me? But sir, I'm not a professional nanny. I just clean houses. I don't care if you're professional or not. I care that my daughter is well. Daniel stood up and walked to the window. I offer you to live here in the staff quarters. You'll have every weekend off and a salary of £20,000 a month. Sarah's eyes widened in surprise. It was far more money than she earned cleaning houses. Sir, I don't know if I can. Why not? Looking after a baby is very different from cleaning. And if something goes wrong... Daniel turned to her. Look, Miss Miller, I've hired nannies with university degrees, with years of experience, with the best references. None lasted more than 3 days. You managed to make my daughter stop crying in 5 minutes. Sarah thought about her grandmother, about the medication she needed, about the money she could send. When would I start? Tomorrow. All right, I accept. The next day, Sarah arrived with a small suitcase. Daniel showed her to her room, which was simple but comfortable. Then he took her to Lily's room. Her routine is chaotic, Daniel explained. She eats at different times, doesn't sleep well at night. The last nanny said it was impossible. Sarah approached the cot. Lily was awake, waving her little hands. Hello, little one. Do you remember me? The baby made a sound that resembled a happy gurgle. Sarah picked her up, and Lily immediately calmed down. I'm going to create a routine for her, Sarah said. Babies need fixed schedules to feel secure. In the following days, Sarah established a strict routine. Lily had breakfast at 8, playtime at 10, a nap at 2, and dinner at 6. At night, Sarah sang soft songs until she fell asleep. The house completely changed. No more constant crying. Instead, there were giggles and baby babble. Sarah talked to Lily all the time, read her stories, and played with her on the living room floor. Daniel watched from afar. He would come home from work and find Sarah and Lily playing on the carpet, or Sarah preparing the baby's food while singing to her. It was an image he hadn't seen since Emma died. One afternoon, he came home early from work. He heard laughter from the kitchen and peeked in. Sarah had Lily in her arms and was making funny faces. The baby was laughing heartily, a sound Daniel hadn't heard in months. Looks like you're having fun, he said from the doorway. Sarah startled. Mr. Hayes, I didn't know you were here. I arrived early. How was Lily today? Very well. She ate all her baby food and slept for 2 hours. Daniel approached and reached out for his daughter. Lily looked at him with curiosity, but didn't cry. When he picked her up, "She seems calmer," Daniel murmured. "Babies sense when adults are nervous," Sarah said. "If you're calm, she will be too." Daniel looked at Sarah with a strange expression. It was the first time anyone had spoken to him like that since his wife's death. Without judgment, just honesty. "Thank you," he simply said. Sarah nodded and continued preparing Lily's dinner. But she felt something different in the air, a silent connection she didn't dare to name. Do you think Daniel is starting to see Sarah as more than just an employee? What kind of challenges do you foresee in their unique living arrangement? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more captivating developments. A storm, a shared vulnerability. It was Friday night when the power went out across the entire area. Sarah was bathing Lily when everything went dark. "Oh my God!" she exclaimed, holding the baby firmly. She heard quick footsteps on the stairs. "Sarah, are you all right?" It was Daniel's voice, with a tone of concern he rarely showed. "Yes, we're fine, but Lily's in the bath." Daniel appeared in the bathroom doorway with his mobile phone flashlight. "Let me help you." Between the two of them, they got Lily out of the water and wrapped her in a towel. The baby didn't seem scared, rather curious about the shadows dancing on the walls. "It must be a general power cut," Daniel said, checking his phone. "They say it could last several hours." They went down to the living room. Daniel lit some candles he found in the kitchen. The golden light filled the space, creating an intimate atmosphere neither of them expected. Sarah put Lily on her blanket on the carpet. The baby played with her feet, making happy cooing sounds. "She seems content," Daniel commented, sitting on the floor near them. "Babies aren't bothered by the dark as much as we are." They fell silent, watching Lily. The candles flickered gently, and the only sound was the baby's gurgles. "Do you miss Jamaica?" Daniel suddenly asked. Sarah looked at him, surprised. It was the first time he'd asked her a personal question. "Every day, especially my grandmother. How is she?" "She's not well. She has diabetes and heart problems. Doctors say she needs surgery, but it's very expensive." Daniel nodded, looking at the candle flames. "My wife was also sick for a long time before she died." Sarah remained silent. Daniel never talked about his dead wife. "What was she like?" Sarah asked carefully. Daniel sighed deeply. "Emma was full of life. She always had a smile. She always saw the good side of things. She was the complete opposite of me. Is that why you fell in love with her? Perhaps. Or perhaps she fell in love with me, despite how I am." Emily started to yawn. Sarah picked her up and began to rock her gently. "You're not as bad as you think," Sarah said. "You're just hurting." Daniel looked at her fixedly. In the candlelight, Sarah's eyes shone with a warmth he had forgotten existed. "How can you say that? You barely know me." "I know men who hurt because they want to hurt, and I know those who hurt because they're scared. You're the second kind." Sarah's words touched him in a place he had kept closed since Emma's death. He moved a little closer to her. "What am I afraid of? Of feeling something again. That if you let someone else in, you might lose them again." Daniel was speechless. This woman who came from another country, who cleaned houses to survive, had seen inside him better than anyone in months. "Lily's asleep," Sarah whispered. "Careful." She carried the baby to her cot. When she returned, Daniel was still sitting on the floor, looking at the candles. "Are you afraid of anything?" he asked. Sarah sat down again, this time closer. "Of many things. Of not being able to help my grandmother. Of not finding my place in this country. Of getting too attached to people I can't have." The last sentence hung in the air between them. Daniel looked at her and understood perfectly what she meant. "Sarah, don't say anything," she interrupted. "We both know this can't happen." But Daniel had already moved closer. His hand touched Sarah's cheek, gently. "And what if I don't care what can, or can't, happen?" Sarah closed her eyes at the contact. She had fought against these feelings for weeks. His wife died only 3 months ago. "I work for you. We're from different worlds. Right now, none of that matters to me." Daniel leaned towards her. Sarah didn't pull away. Their lips met in a kiss that was soft at first, full of doubts and questions. But then it grew more intense, as if both of them had been waiting for that moment without knowing it. When they separated, their foreheads were touching. Both were breathing fast. "This is wrong," Sarah whispered. "I know. It could be very complicated. I know." But neither of them moved. They stayed like that, holding that intimate moment in the candlelight, knowing that when the electricity returned, everything would change. And they were right. What do you think will happen when the lights come back on? Will Daniel and Sarah acknowledge what happened, or will they pretend it never occurred? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for the inevitable next chapter. The Reckoning and The Drive to Yorkshire. The next day, when the lights returned, Daniel was back to his usual cold and distant self. He treated Sarah like any other employee, as if the kiss had never happened. But both knew that something had changed forever between them. 3 weeks had passed since the night of the power cut. Daniel acted as if nothing had happened, but Sarah noticed how he looked at her when he thought she wasn't watching. His eyes said one thing, but his behavior said another entirely. That Tuesday, Daniel had left early for a business meeting. Sarah took the opportunity to deep clean the master bedroom, something she had been putting off. Lily was sleeping in her cot, so she had time. In the wardrobe, she found a cardboard box that was covered in dust. She carefully pulled it out and placed it on the bed. Inside were photos, letters, and personal items that had clearly belonged to Emma. Sarah hesitated whether she should go through the box. It wasn't her place, but as she cleaned around, Lily woke up and started to cry. She picked her up and brought her into the room so she wouldn't be alone. Lily saw the open box and stretched out her little hands towards the shiny objects. Before Sarah could stop her, the baby grabbed a black mobile phone from the bottom of the box. "No, my love, that's not a toy." Sarah tried to take the phone away, but Lily started pressing random buttons. Suddenly, the screen lit up. "Oh no, I hope it's not damaged." Sarah checked the phone to see if it was all right. The battery was low, but it worked. On the screen, several videos appeared. The most recent one was dated 2 months before Emma's death. Unintentionally, Lily touched the video, and it began to play. On the screen appeared a beautiful woman with brown hair and green eyes. She was sitting in the same room where Sarah now found herself. "If anyone is watching this, I'm probably not here anymore," the woman said in the video. Sarah froze. It was Emma, Daniel's deceased wife. "Daniel, if it's you who finds this video, forgive me for not telling you the truth sooner." Sarah knew she should turn off the phone, that she had no right to see this, but the next words chilled her to the bone. "Lily is not our biological daughter. I adopted her without telling you anything." The video continued. Emma explained how she had found Lily in an orphanage, how she had immediately fallen in love with her, how she had falsified the papers to make it seem like the baby was theirs. "I was afraid to tell you, Daniel. Afraid you wouldn't love her if you knew she wasn't yours. Afraid you would leave me. I know it was wrong, but I don't regret it. Lily is our daughter in every way that matters." The video ended. Sarah sat in silence, holding Lily, who played, oblivious to what she had just revealed. What should she do? Pretend she had never seen the video? Tell Daniel the truth? That afternoon, when Daniel returned from work, Sarah couldn't act normally. She was nervous, distracted. During dinner, she spilled Lily's juice twice. "Are you all right?" Daniel asked. "You look strange." "I'm fine, sir." But she wasn't fine. Throughout the night, Sarah agonized over the matter. The next day, she made a decision. She waited until Daniel returned from work and was relaxed. Lily was already asleep. "Mr. Hayes, I need to talk to you." Daniel looked up from his newspaper. "What's wrong?" Sarah pulled the mobile phone from her pocket. "Yesterday, while cleaning your room, I found this." Lily was playing with it and accidentally activated a video. Daniel's expression immediately changed. "That's Emma's phone." "What video?" "I think you should see it yourself." Sarah handed him the phone. Daniel took it with trembling hands and played the video. Sarah stood there, watching Daniel's face change as he listened to his dead wife's words. When it ended, Daniel stared at the screen in silence for several minutes. "This is a lie," he finally said in a hoarse voice. "This is a lie," he shouted, standing abruptly. "Lily is my daughter." "Sir, the video seems real." "You don't know anything. Nothing." Daniel paced like a caged animal. "Why are you showing me this? What do you want from me?" "I don't want anything. I just thought you had a right to know the truth." "The truth? The truth is you're trying to manipulate me." Daniel's words were like slaps. Sarah felt tears beginning to well up. "How can you say that? Maybe you edited the video. Maybe you made it all up to I don't know what." "Mr. Hayes, I would never do something like that." "Of course you would. You've been acting strangely ever since that night. You thought you could use this to manipulate me." Sarah could no longer hold back her tears. "I just wanted you to know the truth. I thought you had a right. The only right you have is to do your job and keep your mouth shut." Daniel approached her furiously. "I want you to leave. Right now. I never want to see you again." "What?" "You heard me. Pack your things and get out of my house." Sarah stood there, trembling. Daniel stomped upstairs. Half an hour later, Sarah came down with her suitcase. Daniel didn't come out to say goodbye. Before leaving, she peeked into Lily's room and gently kissed her forehead. "Take care, my darling. I'm going to miss you very much." And she left, heartbroken, unsure if she had done the right thing. What a devastating turn. Do you think Daniel will ever find out the truth about Emma's video? Will Emily get her treatment? Share your anxious thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for the full truth to unfold. A glimmer of hope in a new town. Sarah arrived in Birmingham with only $30 in her pocket and her heart in pieces. She had taken the first bus out of London, regardless of the destination. She just wanted to be away from Daniel, away from the pain, away from everything. At the bus station, she saw an advertisement in the newspaper. Housekeeper wanted. Small house, quiet family. She dialed the number from a public phone. "Hello? I'm calling about the newspaper ad. Is the job still available?" "Yes. Can you come today?" The Harrison family's house was the complete opposite of Daniel's mansion. It was small, simple, but full of warmth. Mrs. Eleanor Harrison, the lady of the house, was an elderly woman with kind eyes. "I have 2 grown children, and my husband," Mrs. Harrison explained. "It's not much work, just cleaning and cooking. Do you have references?" Sarah gave her the number of her former boss at the cleaning company. Luckily, she had remained on good terms with her. "You can start tomorrow. I'll give you £5,000 a month and food included. Does that sound good?" It was much less money than she earned with Daniel, but Sarah nodded. She needed to work, and above all, she needed to be in a place where no one would shout at her, where no one would accuse her of lying. The first few days were difficult. At night, Sarah cried, thinking of Lily. Was she all right? Had Daniel found another nanny? Did the baby miss her? Mrs. Harrison noticed her sadness. "What's wrong, dear? You look very sad." "I had to leave a job where I looked after a baby. I miss her very much." "Was she your daughter?" "No. but I loved her as if she were." Mrs. Harrison placed a hand on her shoulder. "Love doesn't need papers, dear. If you loved her, she loved you too." Meanwhile, in London, Daniel was living his own hell. After Sarah left, he had hired an emergency nanny agency. In 1 week, 4 different nannies had come and gone. Lily wouldn't stop crying. She refused food, wouldn't sleep, and seemed to be looking for something she couldn't find. Daniel himself had tried to calm her, but it was impossible. "Mr. Hayes," the agency director told him over the phone, "my most experienced nannies say they've never seen a case like this. The baby seems traumatized." "Traumatized by what?" "We don't know. Did anything traumatic happen in the house, and any significant changes?" Daniel knew exactly what had happened. Lily missed Sarah, but his pride wouldn't let him admit it. One night, Lily cried for 4 hours straight. Daniel held her, gave her a bottle, changed her nappy, but nothing worked. He was desperate. "What do you want?" he yelled at the baby. "Tell me what you want." Emily only cried harder. Daniel sat on the floor of the room, holding his daughter, and for the first time in months, he also began to cry. "You miss her, don't you?" he whispered. "You miss Sarah." That same night, Daniel took Emma's mobile phone and re-watched the video. This time, he watched it completely, without the rage he had felt before. He observed every detail, listened to every word. The next day, he took the phone to a video expert. "I want you to analyze this video. I need to know if it's real or if it was edited. It'll cost you £1,000 for the full analysis." "I don't care about the price." 2 days later, the technician called him. "Mr. Hayes, I have the results. The video is completely authentic. There are no signs of editing, manipulation, or digital alteration." Daniel hung up the phone and sat in his office for hours. Emma had lied for years. Lily was not their biological daughter. But more importantly, he had treated the only person who had been honest with him terribly. Sarah hadn't lied. She hadn't tried to manipulate him. She had only shown him the truth, no matter how painful it was. In Birmingham, Sarah had found some peace. The Harrison family treated her well. The work was quiet, and little by little, she had begun to heal. But at night, when she was alone in her small room, she still thought of Lily. One afternoon, while cleaning the living room, her phone rang. It was a London number she didn't recognize. "Sarah Miller?" "Yes, who is this?" "I'm Dr. Thompson, pediatrician. I'm treating one of your patients. Well, she was your patient, Lily Hayes." Sarah's heart raced. "What's wrong with Lily? Is she okay?" "The baby is physically well, but she has symptoms of severe infant depression. Her father gave me your number. He said you were her nanny." "Yes, sis, but I don't work there anymore. Miss Miller, the baby isn't eating well, isn't sleeping, cries constantly. It's as if she's in mourning. Did anything traumatic happen before you left?" Sarah closed her eyes. It pained her to know that Lily was suffering. "Nothing traumatic happened. I just left suddenly." Babies form very strong bonds. If you were her primary caregiver, it's possible she misses you very much. After hanging up, Sarah was left thinking. Lily needed her, but Daniel had been clear. He didn't want to see her again. However, that night she couldn't sleep, thinking of the baby she had learned to love as her own daughter. What an emotional twist! Do you think Sarah will go back to Lily even after Daniel's harsh words? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for the ultimate emotional turning point. A difficult reunion. Daniel drove for 4 hours from London to Birmingham. He had gotten Sarah's address through her former boss at the cleaning company. The journey gave him time to think about what he was going to say, but when he arrived in front of the Harrison family's house, he realized there weren't enough words. He knocked on the door nervously. An elderly lady opened it. Yes? Good afternoon. I'm looking for Sarah Miller. I'm Daniel Hayes. Mrs. Harrison looked him up and down. The expensive suit, the elegant watch, the shiny shoes. This was the man who had made Sarah cry for weeks. What do you want with her? I need to talk to her. It's important. She doesn't want to talk to you. Please, madam. It's about Lily, the baby she looked after. Mrs. Harrison hesitated for a moment. Wait here. She closed the door and went to find Sarah, who was in the garden hanging laundry. My dear, there's a man at the door. He says his name is Daniel Hayes. Sarah dropped the shirt she was holding. Daniel was here? He says he wants to talk about the baby. Sarah froze. Part of her wanted to run to the door, but another part reminded her of the cruel words he had said to her. Tell him to leave. Are you sure? He looks very worried. Sarah closed her eyes. She thought of Lily, of the doctor's call. All right, but stay close, please. Sarah went to the door. Daniel was standing on the pavement with his hands in his pockets. He looked tired, as if he hadn't slept in days. Hello, Sarah. What do you want, Mr. Hayes? The Mr. Hayes hurt him more than he expected. Before, she used to call him Daniel when they were alone. I need to talk to you. With you? We already talked. Very clearly, in fact. I have nothing more to hear. The words came out with more pain than Sarah wanted to show. Daniel realized. You were right about the video. I had it verified by an expert. It's real. Sarah crossed her arms. And I was wrong. I was wrong about you. I was wrong yelling at you. I was wrong kicking you out of the house. Did you come all this way just to tell me that? Daniel sighed deeply. Lily is not well. Very unwell. She's not eating. She's not sleeping. She cries constantly. The doctor says she has depression. Sarah's eyes filled with tears, but she tried to remain firm. Get another nanny. She doesn't want anyone else. She misses you. And I miss you, too. The words hung in the air. Sarah wiped her tears with the back of her hand. She misses me, or she misses the employee who did her job well. I miss you, Sarah. The woman I kissed that night. The woman who made me feel alive again. But the next day, you pretended nothing happened. Daniel ran a hand through his hair. I was scared. Scared of betraying Emma's memory. Scared of feeling something for someone else. Scared of being hurt again. And now? Now I know I'm already hurting myself. And I'm hurting Lily. And I hurt you for no reason. Sarah remained silent for a long moment. What exactly do you want, Mr. Hayes? I want you to come back. Emily needs you. And you? Daniel looked her directly in the eyes. I need you too. Sarah shook her head. It's not that easy. You can't just come here, say some nice words, and expect everything to go back to how it was. I know. That's why I didn't come to ask you to come back as an employee. Then what? Daniel took a deep breath. I came to ask you to come back as part of the family, as the woman who might become my wife, if you give me the chance. Sarah looked at him in surprise. Are you mad? Do you think after how you treated me I can trust you? No. But I hope you'll give me the chance to earn it back. You called me a liar. You yelled at me. You kicked me out of your house like I was trash. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life regretting that. Sarah remained thoughtful. Part of her wanted to say yes immediately, but the hurt part needed more. If I come back, she finally said, things are going to be different. Different how? No more secrets. No more treating me like an employee one day and a woman the next. No more yelling at me when you're angry. And no more pretending I don't exist when it suits you. Daniel nodded. Agreed. And I want us to go slowly. Very slowly. First, I need to see that you've really changed, not just hear it. Sounds fair to me. Sarah looked at him for a long moment. All right, I'll come back. But for Emily, not for you. Daniel smiled for the first time in weeks. All right, for now, that's enough. Sarah went in to pack her things, wondering if she was making the biggest mistake of her life, or giving herself the chance to be happy she had always dreamed of. Do you think Sarah is making the right choice to go back? Can Daniel truly change? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for the heartwarming finale. Healing wounds. Building trust. The drive back to London was silent. Daniel drove, focused on the road, while Sarah looked out the window, nervous about what she would find. During the trip, Daniel told her about Lily's condition. The last nanny quit yesterday. She said she'd never seen a baby so sad. She hasn't eaten well in weeks. Has she lost weight? A little. The doctor says if she doesn't improve soon, they'll have to hospitalize her. Sarah felt a pang in her chest. The idea that Lily was suffering so much tore at her. When they arrived at the house, Daniel carried Sarah's suitcase. Your room is still the same. I didn't touch anything. They went upstairs. Sarah could hear Lily's weak cries from her room. It was a different cry from what she remembered, more muffled, as if the baby no longer had the strength to ask for help. Hello, my love. Did you miss me? Sarah approached slowly and picked up Lily. The baby clung to her immediately, as if afraid she would disappear again. Her tiny hands tangled in Sarah's hair. Oh, my darling, you're so thin. Lily wasn't crying, but she wasn't smiling either. She just clung to Sarah, breathing in her familiar scent. Are you hungry, precious? Sarah went down to the kitchen with Lily in her arms. She prepared her favorite baby food, the one she had always liked. Daniel watched them from the doorway. Come, my love, let's eat. At first, Lily refused the food as she had been doing. But when Sarah began to sing the song she always sang to her during meals, the baby slowly opened her mouth. That's good, little by little. Lily ate half her baby food, more than she had eaten in days. Then she fell asleep in Sarah's arms. It's incredible, Daniel murmured. With you, she's a different baby. Children need to feel secure. When they feel abandoned, they stop trusting. The words had a double meaning, and Daniel understood perfectly. The following days were about slow reconstruction. Sarah re-established Lily's routine, but this time she was more careful. The baby had developed separation anxiety and didn't want Sarah to leave her side for a moment. It's normal, Sarah explained to Daniel. She's afraid I'll leave again. It will take time for her to trust. Daniel had also changed. He was no longer the cold, distant man he once was. He would come home from work and ask about Lily, play with her on the floor, even try to feed her. It's so hard for me, he admitted one afternoon, after Lily refused the bottle he offered her. I don't know how to talk to her. Talk to her like you would talk to anyone you love. Babies understand more than we think. One night, Sarah heard noises in Lily's room. She got up and found Daniel sitting on the floor next to the cot, talking to the baby in a low voice. I know I'm not your biological father, but I want to be. I want to look after you, protect you, watch you grow up. I don't know if you'll ever stop being afraid of me, but I'm going to try. Lily looked at him with her big eyes, not crying. Daniel extended a finger towards her, and to his surprise, Lily grabbed it with her tiny hand. See? Sarah whispered from the doorway. She loves you too. Daniel startled. He hadn't known she was there. Relationships are built with time and patience. You're doing things right. That night, for the first time since Sarah had returned, they had dinner together after Lily fell asleep. Daniel had cooked, though the result was disastrous. I think I burned the eggs, he said, scratching his head. Sarah laughed, the first genuine laugh he'd heard since her return. They're a little golden. They're black. Well, yes, they're black. They laughed together, and for a moment things felt normal. But when their gazes met, the tension returned. Daniel, No, she interrupted. Not yet. I need time. Daniel nodded, though he clearly wanted to say more. How much time? I don't know, until I feel I can trust you completely. What can I do to earn that trust? Sarah thought for a moment. Keep being the man I see with Emily, the one who talks to her with affection, the one who is patient, the one who tries to understand. I like that man. The other one, the one who yells and accuses, that one scares me. That man no longer exists. Prove it to me, not with words, with actions. Daniel extended his hand across the table. Sarah looked at it for a moment and then placed hers on top, briefly. We'll go step by step, she said. Step by step. It was a new beginning, fragile, full of care, but real. The three of them were learning to be a family, each at their own pace, each healing their own wounds. Do you think Daniel can truly earn Sarah's trust back? What actions do you think he needs to take? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for the next emotional milestone. A family takes shape. 3 months had passed since Sarah's return. The house had regained its harmony. Lily no longer cried constantly. She had gained weight, and her laughter filled the spaces that had once been silent. But more importantly, she had started to warm up to Daniel. One morning, as Sarah prepared breakfast, Lily crawled towards Daniel and clung to his trousers. It was the first time she had sought his attention of her own accord. "Daddy, Daddy!" Lily babbled. Daniel froze. Lily had said her first word, and it had been Daddy. His eyes filled with tears as he picked up the baby. "Did you hear that?" he asked Sarah. "I heard it. There's no longer any doubt about who her dad is." That afternoon, Daniel received a call in his office that would change everything. "Mr. Hayes, it's about the merger proposal with the Japanese company," his assistant said. "They need an answer today." Daniel had been postponing that decision for weeks. The merger would mean a lot of money, expanding the business internationally, but it would also mean moving to Tokyo for at least 2 years. "Tell them I need until tomorrow." That night, during dinner, Daniel looked distracted. "What's wrong?" Sarah asked. "You're very quiet." "I was offered a very big deal, but I'd have to move to Japan." Sarah stopped eating. "For how long?" 2 years, maybe more. And what are you going to do?" Daniel looked at Lily, who was playing with her food, oblivious to the conversation that could change her life. "I don't know. It's a lot of money. It would secure Lily's future. Lily's future is here, with the people who love her. Could you come with me?" Sarah looked at him, surprised. "How am I going to go to Japan? I don't even speak Japanese. I don't know anyone there." "You could learn the language. I'd help you with everything. Are you asking me to leave everything to follow you?" Daniel realized how it sounded. "It's not like that. It's just, this deal could change everything." "Change what? Aren't we happy here?" "Yes, but money and business are more important." Sarah got up from the table and started clearing the plates. "I didn't say that. You didn't need to." That night they went to bed without speaking. Daniel stayed awake, thinking about the proposal. It was the opportunity of his professional life, but it would mean separating himself from everything he had built with Sarah and Lily. The next day, Daniel left for the office early without breakfast. Sarah stayed home, playing with Lily in the garden. "What do you think, my love?" she asked the baby. "Is your dad going to leave us for his business?" Lily only laughed and continued playing with her blocks. In the office, Daniel had the proposal on his desk. His partners had been pressuring him all morning. "It's the perfect opportunity, Daniel," said Richard, his main partner. "With this merger, we become an international company. And what if I don't accept? The offer won't be available forever. The Japanese have other options." Daniel thought of Sarah angrily washing dishes, of Lily saying, "Daddy," for the first time, of the quiet evenings the three of them had dinner together. "Give me 1 more hour." He left the office and drove home. He found Sarah giving Lily lunch. Both looked up when he entered. "Have you decided?" Sarah asked without looking at showing at him. "Yes." Daniel sat opposite them. "I'm going to reject the proposal." Sarah looked at him, surprised. "Seriously? Really? I realized something this morning. I've spent my whole life chasing the next deal, the next success, more money. But I've never been as happy as I've been these last few months. You won't regret it? Maybe. But I know I'd regret it more if I lost you both." Sarah smiled for the first time in 2 days. "Are you sure? It's a lot of money. Money can be earned in other ways. But a family like this, that's not found twice in a lifetime." Daniel moved closer to her and took her hands. "Sarah, these past few months you've taught me what truly matters. I don't want to be the man I was before, who only thought about work. I want to be the man who deserves to be with you." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "What are you telling me?" Daniel knelt in front of her, pulling a small box from his pocket. "I'm telling you that I love you, that I love the life we've built together, that I want Lily to have a mom who adores her, and that I want to have a wife who makes me a better person every day." He opened the box. Inside was a simple but beautiful ring. "Marry me, Sarah, not as an employee, not as a nanny, but as my equal, as my partner, as the woman who chose to stay when I didn't deserve it." Sarah was openly crying. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I will marry you." Lily applauded from her high chair, as if she understood something important had just happened. Daniel stood up and kissed Sarah, a kiss full of promises and future. When they separated, the three hugged. "When?" Sarah asked. "Whenever you want. But I'd like it to be in Jamaica with your grandmother present. Would you really go all the way to Jamaica to get married? I'd go to the ends of the earth to marry you. What an incredible proposal. How do you feel about Daniel choosing family over a billion-pound deal? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for the beautiful conclusion. A love story for the ages. 2 years later. "Emily, no! The eggs don't go on the floor!" Sarah laughed as she watched her 3-year-old daughter try to help with breakfast. The little one had insisted she wanted to cook like Mum, but her idea of cooking involved throwing ingredients all over the kitchen. "I help, Mommy," Emily said in her sweet little voice, climbing onto a chair to reach the hob. "Yes, my love, you're helping a lot." Daniel came downstairs in his pajamas, hair disheveled and yawning. He no longer wore elegant suits on Saturday mornings. Now he preferred to stay home with his family. What are the most beautiful chefs in the world cooking? "Daddy!" Emily shrieked, running towards him with hands full of flour. "We're making pancakes!" Daniel picked her up, not caring that she covered him in flour. "Pancakes, and I can help?" "Yes." Sarah smiled, watching the scene. Daniel had changed so much that sometimes he seemed like a completely different person. He was no longer the cold, distant man she had known. Now he was a dad who played on the floor, who sang silly songs, who stayed up when Emily had nightmares. "Be careful," Sarah warned him. "Last time you tried to cook, you almost set the house on fire. That was once, and the smoke wasn't that bad. It was bad enough that the fire brigade came." "Details," Daniel said, winking at her. He moved closer to her and kissed her cheek, still holding Emily. "Good morning, Mrs. Hayes." "Good morning, Mr. Hayes." They still liked calling each other that sometimes, reminding them that they were no longer boss and employee, but husband and wife. The wedding had been exactly as Sarah had dreamed. Simple, in her grandmother's garden in Kingston, Jamaica. Mrs. Davies had traveled from Birmingham to be there. Emily had walked down the aisle with the rings, tripping twice, but arriving with a huge smile. "What do you want to do today?" Daniel asked. "Park!" Emily shrieked immediately. "Not the park again," Sarah complained. "We went twice yesterday." "But Mummy, I like the swing." "You like everything at the park." Daniel put Emily down and went to help with the pancakes. He tried to flip one, but it broke in half. I think I need more practice. I think you need a lot of cooking lessons. Will you teach me? I've been teaching you for 2 years. You're a lost cause. They laughed together. Emily took advantage of them, not looking to dip her little finger in the batter and taste it. Emily, Sarah admonished her. What have I told you about putting your hands in the food? Not to do it, Emily replied, her mouth full, completely unrepentant. This child is just like you, Sarah told Daniel. Never listens. I never listen? Who washed the dishes last night without being asked? After I told you 3 times to wash them. But I washed them! Sarah threw some flour at him. Daniel threw it back. In seconds, all 3 were covered in flour, laughing wildly. Flour war! Emily shrieked, throwing handfuls in the air. No, 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 Sarah said. But it was too late. The kitchen looked like a flour bomb had exploded. When they finished laughing, they sat on the kitchen floor, white from head to toe. Now we have to clean all this, Sarah sighed. Later, Daniel said. Right now, I just want to be here with you both. Even covered in flour, especially covered in flour. Emily snuggled between the 2 of them. I love you all very much, and we love you very much, my love, Sarah told her, kissing her forehead. Daniel looked at both of them, his wife and his daughter, and felt that quiet happiness he had learned to value. It wasn't a perfect life. They had difficult days. They argued sometimes. Emily had tantrums. He still burned the food, and Sarah still worried too much about everything. But it was their life. They had built it together, step by step, decision by decision, forgiveness by forgiveness. What are you thinking about? Sarah asked him. That we're the weirdest family I know. Weird how? A Jamaican, a stubborn Brit, and an adopted child who brought us together without knowing it. And does that bother you? Daniel smiled and hugged them tighter. On the contrary, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Outside, it began to rain softly. The 3 of them stayed there, on the kitchen floor, covered in flour, listening to the rain. It wasn't a perfect family, but it was perfect for them. And that, definitively, was enough. Were you as touched as we were by the story of Sarah, Daniel, and little Emily? This beautiful journey reminds us that families aren't always formed in traditional ways, but are built with love, patience, and second chances. From Jamaica to London, passing through Birmingham and Yorkshire, this story teaches us that true love knows no borders or social differences. If this story touched your heart as it did ours, don't forget to like this video and share it with that special person who believes in second chances. We want to hear from you. Where in the world are you watching from? Leave us your comment and tell us what was your favorite part of this emotional story. Was it when Sarah first calmed Lily, the moment of the kiss by candlelight, or perhaps the marriage proposal? Your opinion is very important to us. If you liked this content and want to see more stories like this, subscribe to our channel and activate the bell to not miss any of our upcoming tales full of love, drama, and happy endings.